It began not as a movement, but as a question. A quiet, persistent question. Why are women not seen as equals? Why is power reserved for one gender? Across continents and centuries, this question echoed through the minds of rebels, writers, mothers, workers, and leaders. And from it emerged one of the most transformative and most misunderstood movements in human history: feminism. Feminism has shaped laws, upended traditions, and opened doors that once seemed permanently locked. But it has also sparked fierce debate, backlash, and deep divisions, even among women themselves. This is not just a history of protests or policies. It is the story of identity, freedom, and the long, unfinished battle for equality. To understand feminism today, we must go back to where it began, not with social media hashtags, but with handwritten manifestos, courtrooms, and revolutions. Pre-1700s, foundations before the word feminism. Long before feminism had a name, women questioned their place in the world. In ancient civilizations, women played powerful roles as priestesses in Mesopotamia, pharaohs in Egypt, poets in Greece, and warriors in Africa. Yet, in most recorded history, they were sidelined, often treated as property, their value tied to childbirth or dowry. Medieval and early modern thinkers, like Hildegard of Bingen, Christine de Pizan, and Aisha bint Abu Bakr, wrote letters, sermons, and stories that quietly challenged male-dominated systems. But society was not ready to listen, yet. 1792, The Spark, Mary Wollstonecraft's A Vindication of the Rights of Woman. In Enlightenment-era Europe, reason, liberty, and individual rights were in the air. But these ideals applied only to men. Mary Wollstonecraft, a British philosopher, asked, "Why not women?" In 1792, she published A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, one of the first modern feminist texts. I do not wish women to have power over men, but over themselves. The first wave, 1800s to 1920s, the right to be heard. The first wave of feminism focused on legal rights, especially the right to vote, own property, and access education. Leaders emerged. Sojourner Truth, a formerly enslaved black woman, declared, "Ain't I a woman?" Connecting race and gender injustice. Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton led marches across America. In Britain, Emmeline Pankhurst led hunger strikes and bold demonstrations. We are here not because we are lawbreakers. We are here in our efforts to become lawmakers. Pankhurst. By the 1920s, many women in the US, UK, and parts of Europe had won the right to vote, a monumental, hard-fought victory. But feminism had only just begun. The second wave, 1960s to 1980s, the right to control one's life. Personal is political. This wave erupted in the wake of World War II. Women had entered the workforce, served in war efforts, and then were told to return to the kitchen. Feminists like Betty Friedan challenged these limits. Her book, The Feminine Mystique, 1963, exposed the dissatisfaction of countless housewives trapped in a life they didn't choose. Demands now went beyond the ballot box. Workplace equality, equal pay, access to contraception and abortion, protection from domestic violence and sexual harassment. Laws began to change. Title IX, Roe v. Wade, and the Equal Pay Act transformed lives. But tensions grew between white, middle-class feminists and women of color, working-class women, and LGBTQ+ voices who felt excluded from the mainstream movement. The third wave, 1990s, 2000s, identity and intersectionality. There's no one way to be a woman. In the 1990s, a younger generation questioned the boundaries of the movement. They embraced individual empowerment, diversity, and cultural feminism. Coined by scholar Kimberlé Crenshaw, The term intersectionality described how race, gender, sexuality, and class overlap to shape a woman's experience of oppression. Feminism became more global, more inclusive, and more decentralized. The fourth wave, 2010s to present, digital feminism and global voices, speak your truth. Social media revolutionized activism. Movements like Me Too, #Time's Up, and #HeForShe exposed harassment, gender violence, and systemic inequality. Online platforms gave a voice to survivors, but also created echo chambers, cancel culture, and new forms of cyber misogyny. Meanwhile, feminist movements surged worldwide. Iran, women protesting mandatory hijab laws. India, campaigns against rape culture. Africa, movements against female genital mutilation. FGM. Latin America, women demanding protection against femicide. Feminism today is global, fractured, powerful, and more debated than ever. Feminism is not one idea, it's a galaxy of beliefs. Types of feminism: liberal feminism, equality through law and policy reform. Radical feminism, systemic overhaul of patriarchy. Marxist/socialist feminism, linking capitalism to gender oppression. Cultural feminism, celebrating traditionally feminine values. Ecofeminism, connecting environmental and gender justice. Intersectional feminism, recognizing layered oppression based on race, sexuality, ability, and more. Controversies, trans inclusion, who counts as a woman, sex work, empowerment versus exploitation. Men's rights, is feminism listening to male struggles? Cancel culture, is online feminism silencing discussion? These are not just intellectual debates. They're real questions shaping policy, identity, and culture every day. Has feminism failed or simply evolved? Feminism has educated millions of girls, challenged child marriage, elevated women into politics and science, reformed marriage, labor, and family laws, shifted global consciousness about power and gender. But around the world, women still earn less than men, face violence and online abuse, fight for reproductive rights, struggle for representation in leadership. Feminism's work is far from over, and its definition is still being rewritten. Feminism is not a war against men. It is a centuries-long dialogue about fairness, dignity, and freedom. Some call it dangerous, others call it salvation. But wherever there is inequality, feminism rises, questioned, reshaped, and carried forward by new voices. This is not the end of the story. This is only the beginning.